Imagine her trembling with pleasure, completely lost in the moment, and you knowing exactly how to guide her there, not after a long struggle, but in half the usual time. Forget the guesswork, the pressure, and the frustration. Tonight, you can be the man who unlocks her deepest desires effortlessly. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 secrets women rarely say out loud, but secretly crave every partner to know. These are practical, no-nonsense techniques you can use right away to bring her more satisfaction, ignite stronger intimacy, and make her climax faster than you thought possible. Ready to discover what truly works in the bedroom? Let's dive into the 5 game-changing tips she wishes you already knew. Secret number 1, the science of vibrational stimulation. When it comes to female pleasure, science has consistently shown that direct stimulation of the clitoris is the most reliable pathway to orgasm. In fact, research indicates that roughly 80% of women require some form of clitoral stimulation to reach climax. That's not an opinion or a marketing gimmick, it's biology. The clitoris has over 8,000 nerve endings concentrated in a very small area, making it one of the most sensitive parts of the human body. By comparison, that's more than double the number of nerve endings found in the penis. This is why tools designed to focus on this specific area can be so effective. A vibrator isn't just a gadget, it's a precision instrument that harnesses consistency and intensity beyond what human hands or mouths can provide. While manual techniques are essential for intimacy and connection, there are natural limits to endurance, speed, and coordination. A vibrator bridges that gap by delivering the steady, targeted stimulation that doesn't tire out. For many women, this eliminates the frustrating delay that sometimes occurs when their body feels almost there, but struggles to cross the finish line. Another fascinating aspect of using vibrational stimulation is what happens after the first orgasm. Women often enter a state of heightened sensitivity once they climax. Their bodies, now fully awakened, can respond much faster to continued stimulation. That means what may take 15 or 20 minutes the first time might only take 2 or 3 minutes afterward. In other words, a vibrator can be the catalyst that opens the floodgates to multiple orgasms, creating an experience that feels not only faster, but also more abundant and fulfilling. There's also an empowering psychological dimension. When a woman knows her partner is open to incorporating a vibrator, it communicates that her pleasure is a priority. Instead of seeing it as competition, embracing it as a tool fosters trust, playfulness, and a sense of partnership. It shows that intimacy is about exploration and teamwork, not ego. And when that trust is established, the bedroom transforms from a space of pressure into one of experimentation and joy. Of course, vibrators come in many shapes and functions, from simple models that provide external stimulation to more advanced designs that combine clitoral and internal sensations. Choosing one isn't about complexity or expense. Even the most straightforward version can completely change the dynamic. What matters most is finding what works for her body and using it as a complement to touch, kissing, and connection. In summary, vibrational stimulation isn't about shortcuts. It's about aligning with the science of pleasure. By recognizing the role of the clitoris, embracing the technology available, and combining it with your presence and affection, you create a sexual experience that is not only faster, but richer, deeper, and infinitely more satisfying. Secret number 2, the power of confident leadership in intimacy. If there's one psychological factor that consistently enhances a woman's ability to relax and enjoy intimacy, it's a partner who takes the lead with confidence. Sexual pleasure for women isn't just a physical process. It's deeply influenced by emotional safety, mental presence, and the ability to let go of everyday concerns. Stress and overthinking are among the most common barriers to orgasm. That's why leadership in the bedroom isn't about control. It's about creating the conditions for relaxation. Trust and surrender. When a man approaches intimacy with hesitation, second-guessing himself, asking permission for every move, or appearing uncertain, it unintentionally shifts responsibility back onto the woman. Instead of focusing fully on pleasure, she's pulled into decision-making. Should I say yes? Does he really want this? What comes next? That mental load interferes with her ability to stay immersed in the moment. By contrast, when he steps into the role of confident guide, she is free to disengage from overthinking and simply enjoy the experience unfolding around her. Confident leadership doesn't mean being domineering. It means having a clear sense of direction, initiating with intention, and communicating desire in a way that feels decisive yet attuned. For example, instead of nervously asking, "Do you want me to?" he might gently take her hand, guide her to the bed, and say, "I want to feel you close." That clarity sets a tone of certainty while still leaving space for her to respond. If she resists or expresses a boundary, respecting it is also part of leadership, adjusting course without breaking the flow. There's also a biochemical side to this dynamic. Studies in sexual psychology suggest that arousal is heightened when women feel desired and chosen. Seeing a partner take charge signals commitment and focus, triggering both emotional security and erotic excitement. Leadership communicates that he knows what he wants and that desire becomes contagious. The result? Faster arousal, deeper engagement, and an easier pathway to climax. Practical leadership can be as simple as planning the progression of intimacy, starting with slow kisses, guiding her to different positions, or introducing elements of touch and sensation without waiting for instruction. It's the willingness to direct the movie, so to speak, while still reading her cues and responding to her energy. It's about removing indecision and replacing it with a smooth, flowing narrative that she can immerse herself in completely. Ultimately, leadership in intimacy is a form of generosity. It relieves her of the burden of thought and planning, allowing her to focus entirely on her own pleasure. When a man carries that responsibility with confidence and respect, he not only helps her orgasm faster, he also elevates the entire experience into something more passionate, connected, and unforgettable. Secret number 3, the transformative power of praise and positive feedback. One of the least acknowledged yet most powerful drivers of female arousal is the mind. A woman's body can be stimulated in countless ways, but if her thoughts are consumed by insecurity, self-judgment, or doubt, her ability to fully experience pleasure diminishes dramatically. Studies in psychology show that many women carry subtle anxieties into intimate moments. Concerns about how their body looks, whether their partner truly finds them attractive, or whether they are performing well enough. These thoughts might seem small, but they act like static noise in the background, disrupting her ability to focus on sensation and connection. This is where praise and positive feedback enter as game changers. A sincere compliment doesn't just flatter her, it dismantles the barriers in her mind that keep her from surrendering to the moment. Words like, "You feel incredible," or "I love the way you move," serve as affirmations that redirect her attention away from worry and toward the pleasure she is sharing with you. Neuroscientific research even supports this. Positive affirmation can reduce cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and increase dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. In other words, your words can literally reshape her brain's response to intimacy. But praise does more than relieve insecurity. It also amplifies desire. Female sexuality often thrives on the feeling of being deeply wanted. After spending much of daily life caring for others or fulfilling responsibilities, many women crave the sense of being the center of someone's focus in the bedroom. Hearing enthusiastic feedback signals that she is not only accepted, but passionately desired. This ignites her self-confidence and feeds into a feedback loop. The more she feels wanted, the more she relaxes, and the more her body responds with heightened arousal. It's important, however, that praise feels authentic and connected to the moment. Generic comments like "you're hot" may fall flat if they lack specificity. Instead, notice details, the softness of her skin, the way she tastes, the sound of her breathing. Specific praise makes her feel seen, not just superficially complimented. It shows attentiveness and amplifies intimacy because she knows you are fully present. Another layer to consider is the interplay between verbal and nonverbal feedback. Praise need not always be spoken. It can also be expressed through moans, facial expressions, or the way you physically respond to her. These cues signal desire in ways words sometimes cannot. Yet combining the two, vocalizing appreciation while physically showing it, creates a symphony of affirmation that sweeps away doubt and heightens pleasure. Ultimately, positive feedback is not a trick. It is a mindset of generosity. By choosing to consistently reinforce her attractiveness, her desirability, and her effect on you, you shift intimacy from a performance into a celebration. And in that celebration, she finds the freedom to relax, immerse herself in pleasure, and reach climax more quickly and more powerfully than she ever expected. Secret number 4. Unlocking desire through the language of eye contact. Human beings are wired to seek connection through the eyes. From infancy, eye contact is one of the first ways we build trust and emotional bonds. In romantic and sexual contexts, this primal mechanism becomes an extraordinary amplifier of intimacy. When partners look deeply into one another's eyes, something shifts. Heart rates synchronize, oxytocin levels rise, and a profound sense of connection floods the moment. In the bedroom, this translates into heightened arousal and a richer sexual experience. Many men assume that physical touch alone is enough to sustain passion, but what often separates a good encounter from a breathtaking one is the emotional current beneath it. Eye contact acts as a bridge between the physical and the emotional. It tells her that you are not just enjoying her body, but that you are fully present with her as a person. This awareness reassures her that she is cherished, not objectified, and that distinction unlocks deeper levels of desire. When combined with compliments or loving words, eye contact becomes even more powerful. Imagine whispering, "You look incredible right now," while holding her gaze. The impact is twofold. The words feed her mind, dissolving insecurities, while the eyes communicate sincerity that cannot be faked. This convergence of verbal and visual cues creates a potent cocktail of reassurance, passion, and excitement. Science also backs up the erotic power of gazing. Research in social psychology has shown that sustained eye contact increases feelings of closeness, even between strangers. In couples, it intensifies attraction and strengthens emotional bonds. In the heat of intimacy, those same mechanisms magnify sensation. A single glance can send shivers through her body because the brain interprets it as vulnerability shared and connection deepened. It is worth noting that eye contact is not about staring continuously, which can feel intimidating or artificial. Instead, it is about weaving moments of gaze into the rhythm of intimacy. Pausing during a kiss to look into her eyes, meeting her gaze during penetration, or holding her stare briefly after a compliment. These intentional moments act as anchors, pulling her into the present and reminding her that you are both partners in the same experience. For women especially, eye contact carries a message of safety and devotion. It communicates that her partner is not distracted or disconnected but fully absorbed in the shared moment. This security allows her to let go of inhibitions and open herself to greater vulnerability, a state where orgasm becomes not just easier but more intense. In essence, the eyes are more than sensory organs in intimacy. They are conduits of trust, desire, and love. By embracing the language of eye contact, you transform intimacy from mechanical to magical. And when she feels both desired and profoundly connected, her journey to climax becomes not only quicker, but infinitely more satisfying. Secret number 5. Why letting go of the goal unlocks greater pleasure. When it comes to intimacy, many people unknowingly sabotage their own experiences by putting orgasm on a pedestal. It becomes the finish line, the defining marker of whether sex was successful or not. But here's the paradox. The more pressure you put on achieving climax for yourself or your partner, the harder it becomes to actually reach it. What should feel like connection and exploration instead turns into a performance, filled with questions like, "Am I doing this right?" Or, "Is she close yet?" That tension can be the single biggest obstacle to pleasure. Biology helps explain why. Orgasms are the product of the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for relaxation, safety, and letting go. Stress and performance anxiety activate the opposite system, the sympathetic nervous system, which triggers fight or flight. In that state, the body is primed to defend itself, not to surrender to waves of ecstasy. This means that the more you focus on forcing an orgasm, the more you activate the very pathways that make it less likely to happen. The solution lies in shifting perspective. Stop treating orgasm as the destination and start treating intimacy as the journey. Instead of obsessing over whether she finishes, prioritize creating an environment of pleasure, curiosity, and connection. Explore the sensations of touch, the rhythm of breathing together, the buildup of anticipation. These moments, free from pressure, are where desire naturally blooms. Ironically, when orgasm is no longer the central focus, it often arrives faster and more intensely, not because you chased it, but because you allowed it. Psychology supports this approach. Studies on mindfulness and sexuality show that individuals who focus on present moment awareness, noticing sensations, without judgment or expectation, experience higher levels of arousal and satisfaction. By tuning into each kiss, each caress, each gasp, you shift attention away from, "Am I there yet?" and toward, "What do I feel right now?" That change transforms intimacy from a goal-driven task into a living, breathing experience of discovery. For women especially, this can be revolutionary. Many feel subconscious pressure to orgasm, fearing that if they don't, they're disappointing their partner. This stress creates a mental barrier, trapping them in their heads instead of their bodies. By removing orgasm as the measure of success, you lift that weight off her shoulders. You create space where she can relax, trust, and immerse herself fully in pleasure, the very conditions that make orgasm far more likely. And this doesn't just benefit her. Men who let go of the fixation on results often find themselves more confident and present. They worry less about performance and more about connection. They discover new facets of their own pleasure, noticing the subtleties of arousal and intimacy they may have overlooked before. The experience becomes richer, more playful, and far less mechanical. At its core, great sex isn't about the final explosion. It's about the landscape you explore along the way. When you stop chasing orgasm and instead focus on building connection, igniting sensations, and savoring every moment, climax becomes what it was always meant to be, a natural, joyful byproduct of true intimacy. The story. Oliver always thought he was doing fine in the bedroom. He was polite, patient, and had even joined a Pilates class because someone on the internet said flexibility made men better performers. Yet despite all the stretching and the creative positions that made him look like a pretzel on a yoga mat, his girlfriend Sophie often took a jizz to climax. Sometimes she didn't at all. At night, Oliver lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking, "Is it me? Or is she just too kind to say anything?" One rainy evening in London, Oliver shared his worries with his friend Richard, a seasoned relationship coach. Richard sipped his tea and laughed. "Mate, you're trying to light a bonfire with soggy wood. No wonder you're getting smoke instead of flames." Oliver nearly choked on his biscuit. Richard leaned in and explained, "The problem isn't that you're not good enough. It's that you're treating orgasm like a finish line in the London Marathon. But women aren't looking for a sprint to Buckingham Palace. They want the whole scenic tour." Oliver frowned, intrigued, and Richard continued. "Think of pleasure like fire," Richard said. "Most women need sparks in the right place, and that place is the clitoris. Nearly 80% rely on it to reach orgasm. Your hands and mouth are lovely, but sometimes you need a power tool. A vibrator isn't competition. It's like a Zippo lighter. Flick it on, and suddenly the fire roars. And once it's lit, trust me, she can go off like New Year's fireworks." Oliver blushed, but Richard wasn't done. "The other problem? You hesitate too much. You can't be a nervous tour guide with a dodgy map asking, 'Do you want to go left, darling, or right?' She doesn't want a guide, she wants a captain. Take her hand, set the course, steer the ship, and if the wind changes, adjust the sails. That way she can finally relax, knowing you've got it covered. Oliver chuckled nervously, but Richard pressed on. And don't forget her mind. Women are like radios stuck between stations. One moment they're thinking about whether their tummy looks flat. The next they're wondering if you notice their ex's name pop up on Instagram. All that static kills the music. Your job? Tune the deal with compliments, genuine ones. Tell her, you're gorgeous, or I can't get enough of you. That's when the noise fades, and she hears the one station she wants, desire, clear and strong. Oliver nodded slowly. Richard smirked. And then there are the eyes. Don't just ogle her body like you're browsing a menu at the pub. Look into her eyes. That's the secret sauce. A single gaze says, I'm here with you. Add a compliment while you're at it, and boom, instant fireworks over the Thames. Finally, Richard wagged his finger. And for heaven's sake, stop chasing orgasm like a dog after its tail. The harder you run, the further it goes. It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep doesn't work, does it? Instead, laugh at the silly moments, savor the kisses, enjoy the chaos. That's when pleasure sneaks up, taps you on the shoulder, and says, "Surprise, mate." That night, Oliver took the advice to heart. He stopped worrying about being flawless. He praised Sophie, looked into her eyes, led with confidence, and tossed the pressure out the window. To his astonishment, Sophie climaxed faster than ever before, then giggled, "At last, Oliver, you've cracked the Wi-Fi password." Oliver burst out laughing. He finally understood. Intimacy isn't about racing to the end. It's about enjoying the journey with humor, connection, and a few clever tools in your back pocket. Thank you for listening until the very end. If today's story has gently stirred your heart, whether through an old memory, a present feeling, or something never spoken into words, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Intimate wisdom is where we come together to touch the hidden corners of love, affection, and sexuality, things that may seem private, yet are in fact the very core of happiness. I wish you to always love deeply, live truthfully, and find yourself. In every glance, every touch, and every trembling heartbeat, affectionate greetings.